Hey, silly goosies. Welcome to But Seriously, the podcast where we dive into life's pivotal moments and how they shape who we are. I'm Taylor, and each week I'll be sitting down with guests from all walks of life to explore how different challenges and traumas can become stepping stones into one's own authenticity. This is not a how-to on healing, rather an open, heartfelt, and even sometimes hilarious conversation amongst friends. We'll laugh, maybe shed a tear, and remind ourselves that life just is not that serious. So lighten up, let go, and settle in as you join us for stories that are as funny as they are inspiring. This is But Seriously. Let's get started. Oh my goodness, Erinn, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, But Seriously. I think your story is so unique and it's so inspiring, and I just can't wait to get closer with you and learn all about you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Not off to a great start.
So obviously I met you through our mutual friend, Jenny and Brigitte. I know we haven't hung out that much, but they've told me a little bit about your story, and, the little bit that I do know, it's harrowing how much you've been through from birth.
Yes.
It's nuts. So if you don't mind, you're going to kind of walk the audience through your unique story from the beginning, and then I'll kind of pepper in questions from there and whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, so I was born with a genetic disease called cystic fibrosis. Basically both my parents are recessive gene holders of the disease, so my sister and I actually both have it.
Oh, I didn't know your sister has it.
Yeah,
too.
my sister has it, but what's crazy is I was diagnosed at birth. Day one, I didn't pass my first stool, which is something that babies do within the first hour or two of being born.
That's funny. One of the first things we do is take a poop.
Exactly. We're like, welcome to the world. And I didn't. And so they were like, the doctors were like, this is concerning, whatever. So one of the symptoms of that is cystic fibrosis. So I was tested. I had it. I was in the NICU for 2 to 3 weeks. And yeah, so I was born with cystic fibrosis.
And that's you said a recessive gene that's passed down. Is that is it autoimmune? What does it attack, I guess, exactly, just in case people don't know?
Yeah, so it attacks mainly the lungs.
Okay.
But basically any organ in your body that is lined with mucus.
Yeah.
So it creates more mucus in those parts. So your lungs obviously have the most amount of mucus.
Harder to breathe and all that.
Yeah. So it's literally, people describe it as trying to breathe through a straw. I actually just blew up my first balloon for the first time yesterday.
High five.
Yeah. It was exhausting. I was like, oh my God, this is rough. So the lungs, it attacks also the digestive system because your GI tract is lined. So your pancreas, your sinuses, obviously a mucus in there. I've had 2 sinus surgeries. But yeah, mainly the lungs, which it is a progressive disease. So you get worse with age. So at the age of 25, I had a double lung transplant. And yeah, now I'm here today. So people always ask, does that mean that you no longer have cystic fibrosis? And the answer is no. I still have it. I still have it in all the other parts of my body. My lungs do not have cystic fibrosis anymore, but the rest of my body still does.
With the lung transplant, could it possibly come back into your new lungs, or is that a fear at all? If it's in other parts of the body, could it metastasize or spread almost like a tumor or cancer, or is it only impacted the organs that have not been transplanted?
So what it could affect is there's different infections or bacteria that you carry in your lungs. So I carried in my I've had 2 sets of lungs now.
Wow.
I'm on my second set. So in my pre-transplanted lungs, I carried a bacteria known as Pseudomonas. A lot of people with cystic fibrosis carry that. I believe I still have it in my nose, right? So it could get back, it could drip,
get to your lungs.
Drainage into your lungs. I wouldn't get this. No, they're not going to fill up with mucus in the same way, but now I'm dealing with other issues in the lungs. So I'm on anti-rejection medication, which is basically, these are not my lungs, right? So I have to take anti-rejection medication to trick my body into thinking that they're my lungs.
Yeah.
So therefore forcing my body to not reject them, because your antibodies are like, this is a foreign object. This isn't yours.
They want to attack
and
it.
they want to attack it.
Yeah.
So that is the issue that I deal with on a day-to-day basis with my lungs. But no, they're not going to, they could develop different types of infections, but they're not going to like have the same cystic fibrosis. Yeah.
I was looking it up a little bit online last night, and it seems like it's a pretty rare disease.
It's actually the most common genetic disease in Caucasians.
In white people. I did see that was the most prevalent in white people.
Yeah,
but
so
not in
1 in 36,000 people have it.
Yeah.
Or the carrier. Don't quote me on that. It's either the carrier or they
it
have
was
it.
something, I think it was the carrier, and then it was like 1 in 3,000 Caucasian babies or something like that.
Okay.
Which is pretty, I mean, still it's
that seems pretty high.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I misread it. But
no, I mean, I don't
that's
know.
pretty rare.
That's still, I know, it's rare, but it's also like the most common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my mom passed away from ALS, which they say is a very uncommon disease, but now I have seen so many people with it, and I'm like, it can't be that uncommon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like when it pops up in your life, you start to see it more. Can you sort of walk us through the journey of like what it was like leading up to that lung transplant? I can't imagine, if you're having trouble breathing and you're in and out of surgeries your whole life. I feel like that have to have a pretty big impact on the childhood and like the preteens and all that jazz.
Yeah, so I actually had like a very normal childhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super normal. Most kids that grow up with cystic fibrosis are in and out of the hospital their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I was not hospitalized until I was 17.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was super lucky. A lot of that has to do with, one, probably luck. Two, my parents learned that swimming was really good for lungs, and it was like a natural way to clear the mucus in the lungs.
Okay.
So what kids do is they wear this thing called the vest, which I wore it for years. You strap it on, and it basically shakes your lungs to clear the mucus because, as I said, it produces extra thick lining in the lungs, the mucus, and that's what's breeding bacteria and infections. So you want to clear that. You want to get it out. So we're doing nebulizing treatments. Okay. And we're doing anything to clear the lungs. Before the vest, your parents would actually have to go and like physically pound your back to like release that mucus, and then you're going to cough it up.
And this is obviously very helpful treatments leading up to 17 years old.
Yeah. So I actually didn't start the vest until I was 17. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. So your parents were.
So they learned, so they were not doing the treatments. They learned that swimming was almost like a natural treatment for that.
Okay.
Like it naturally helped.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So they signed me up. They signed me up for the summer swim team. And they got lucky that I just happened to be really good at it. And
you loved it.
And I loved it. And I became a competitive year-round swimmer. I did the summer team ages 5 and 6. By 7 years old, I was swimming 5 days a week.
That's a lot.
Like year round.
Girl, I tried to do swim team when I was a kid, and I loved it, but then the meets were too long. And then when I found out you have to get up super early to swim,
oh my gosh,
fuck this, not for me.
Yeah, and I am not a morning person. So that really kept me healthy for all of those years, right? Because I'm in the pool 2+ hours a day. Like,
so it was like an outlet for you as well as it helped your health.
I mean, I didn't even think of it as an outlet. Like it was just my sport, right? Like you talk to plenty of kids who like dedicate their lives to sports, and that was just mine. And it happened, it's kind of like a double whammy.
Yeah.
And then when I was 17, I was totally burnt out on the sport. Like I had just been swimming every day, and I was, wanted to go and party with my friends my senior year. And so I was like, I'm quitting swimming.
Yeah, swimming is a big commitment.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm quitting, mom and dad. And a couple months later, ended up in the hospital.
That's crazy. So it happened pretty fast.
Yeah. I was already declining. Like I remember the first day, you do get a couple months breaks in there. And my first day back after like the break, my senior year when I was 17, I thought that I had somehow just lost all of my training and skills. The first day I was going so slow. I could barely get out of the pool. I was so out of breath, and I was like, I gotta quit. I apparently suck now. I went from being number 1 on the team to last, and it really was just my body disintegrating, And so, I ended up in the hospital. And then when I was 17, I was introduced to the nebulizers, the vest treatment, all of that. And then that is kind of when all of my health issues kicked in.
Yeah. How long before then were you put on the transplant list immediately, or did you have to
no.
Okay.
So when I was 17 is when I started doing all the traditional cystic fibrosis treatments that all the kids with CF had been doing for years. I was hospitalized when I was 17 for 2 weeks, put on IV antibiotics. I was basically trained how to be a CF patient.
And then what a turmoil, turn of events for your senior year.
I know, it wasn't. I am somebody I really like to look on the bright side.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I didn't want to swim anymore. So I got 4 years varsity credit. They still were like, oh, poor Erinn, we'll still give you credit for the last year. I'm like, okay, so I get credit for my college transcript. Yeah. I don't have to swim, so
it worked out.
It wasn't that bad. And I was only in there for 2 weeks. So I got 2 weeks off of school. What are you going to do? So I go to college.
Where did you go?
San Diego State.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's why I ended up in San Diego.
Yeah. Where were you from originally?
San Jose Bay Area. Yeah. Okay. So I go to San Diego State. I had a normal 4 years, and I was not hospitalized again until my senior year of college. And that time was very bad. I actually ended up on life support in the ICU 3 weeks before graduation.
Wow.
Yeah, I got out of the hospital the day before graduation. And I literally walked across the stage with an IV in my arm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And yeah, so I was it was a 4 year. I obviously had some ups and downs. Every time I would go home for a Christmas break or a summer break, I would go and get an IV in my arm. And they do what is called a tune-up, where they're giving you IV antibiotics. And I think that held me over to get through the school year and stuff. And then, so let's see, I graduated when I was 21. And so when I was 21, that is when I was in the ICU on life support. They came in and they were like, you're going to need a transplant. And I said, no. And they're like, well, you can't tell us no. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just knew, one, I was uneducated on the subject. Two, I have a crazy intuition. I might be a witch. I don't know. And I was just like, I do not need a transplant right now. I just knew that it was not the time for me. Yeah. And I sat down with the doctor and I was like, this isn't the time for me.
Does everybody who gets cystic fibrosis eventually need a transplant?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it varies on severity on your life.
Yeah. So as I said, my sister has cystic fibrosis as well. And I have such a more severe case than her. Okay. She's been in the hospital, I think, one time. She's 33 years old. Mm-hmm. She's probably not going to need a transplant. She works a 9 to 5, super healthy, travels. There's different mutations of the gene. And so I definitely have the more severe case of it. So I was like, no, let's hold off. So then.
And you were just because you were like, I don't want, you just obviously transplants are so intense on the body. Was it just because you were like, I'm not ready to go through that aspect, knowing that the next couple of years are going to be a really long healing journey? Or was it just because you were like, what was kind of your thought process behind that intuitive no?
Honestly, I was 21. I had yet to have a serious relationship. And a lot of it was I felt like my life, I don't want to say it was going to be worse after transplant, but it was
it's a big recovery, big recovery.
It was the fear of the unknown. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I never get to date anybody or live a normal life because I've had this transplant? That was honest to God, one of my first thoughts.
You want to party, you want to fuck, you want to do all the things.
Yeah. And I'm like, what if I can't do that with these new lungs, And so I was like, no. And so another 4 years go by. And I was in the hospital about once a year.
Wow.
At that point. Yeah. Which still.
From there, did you change your lifestyle? Maybe limit the partying, better sleep, exercise, or was it still just kind of
that would have been the thing to do. No, instead I moved to Pacific Beach.
Oh boy.
With my 2 best friends. And I lived it up. Like
Love it. Good for you.
I partied every night, like I'm not telling people cystic fibrosis, do not do what I did. But no, and that's something I've always done is like live my life to what you
want to. Yeah.
What I want to.
Life's short, baby.
Life's short. So mine's probably going to be shorter. And so, so I moved to Pacific Beach, was doing all that, was in the hospital about once a year. And then when I was 25, I was in the hospital 3 times over the summer. So it was like three times in about 3 months, like back to back to back. And I remember I was just like standing in the kitchen one day making a sandwich, and I was like, these lungs are done. Like, I'm gonna need a transplant.
Were you like winded? You're like, this is it. I can
feel
it. Oh.
I just knew.
I think you might be a witch.
No, I'm serious. I've told people, I'm like, I think I'm a witch, and they stare at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, guys, this is for real. This isn't a joke.
I don't know. Women's intuitions are strong. And I feel like if you probably, you're born with this mortality, right? Like, I feel like you probably have a higher sense of self and like a spiritual connection.
Like if I got the gene for cystic fibrosis, why can't I also have a witch gene?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're a very special human being.
Thank you.
I think that's 100% what's going on.
No, I was just like, these lungs are done. I'm going to need a transplant. And a month later, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I just know that I felt like I was going to pass out. So I took my oxygen level and it was 78. And
oh shit.
For people who don't know, you should be 95 and above.
Yeah.
You pass out usually at 80, 88.
I mean, when my mom was sick too, like we had to take her oxygen because ALS, I don't know if you're familiar, your whole it's a motor function disease. So you like lose the ability to speak, you lose the ability to move. And then like eventually you can't breathe because you can't move your lungs, you can't move your chest.
Yeah.
And we would have to monitor oxygen levels. And I feel like it was right around the 80s. We're like, oh, shit's getting bad. So 78's fucking low, sis.
Bad. So I did have a boyfriend at that time. So I was like, well, now I can have a transplant. So anyways, I called him and I'm like, we have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So we went to the hospital, checked into the ER. The next day, a doctor I had never met came in and was like, you're going to need a transplant. And I was like, I know.
Yeah. Trust me, I know.
I know. And to this day, he's like, you were the easiest person to convince. And I'm like, and
that's crazy that people don't, I mean, I get not wanting one, but like if it's your life and the balance, like, and people like were resistant to that, is it just because it's such a big,
I mean, I was resistant at 21, right? At this point, I had already made the decision for myself that I knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I know. So we started, I think pretty much the next day, you have to do a workup. It's about a 3-week, they call it a 3-week workup, to be even put on the transplant list. So it's so many things. Like it's a psych eval. They have to make sure that like you are mentally tough and like it's a lot to go through a transplant, right? So you have to do all that. My parents had to go through interviews to make sure that they can provide as caretakers for me, because you have to have somebody who is willing to dedicate a minimum of 3 months to taking care of you. So like my mom had to take off work for 3 months and all that.
And likely it's going to be longer, right? It's not an easy road to go.
Yeah, exactly. Different physicals, different lung tests, a million different tests. I don't even remember all of them to this day.
There has to be so much on the body and the mind. Like, am I worthy of this? Like, why can't you just put me on the list and move on? Like, I can't even imagine.
I don't know. I didn't even think that. I was just, everything for me was like, I hope I pass this test, you know, like I hope I, pass. And at that point, so I was, but I was really lucky. Like there's people who it takes them a while to even be able to like get to do the workup. But because I was already in the hospital, they were able to do it faster. And then they actually put me on a medical plane. It was like a little jet plane, and flew me up to Stanford Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I'm from San Jose. My parents still live in San Jose. And it's about 30 minutes from the Stanford Hospital. And so it was decided that I was going to be transplanted at that hospital. Again, I got super lucky. It's the #1 transplant hospital in the nation. My parents live 30 minutes from it. And then I could live at home, right? Like under my parents' guise and everything, and be taken care of. So then I got flown up to Stanford. we finished the workup up there. I was placed on the transplant list. I was so sick that I was placed at number 4 on the transplant list.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
Erinn.
crazy. And they told me it'll be a minimum of a 6-month wait. And I said, okay. So I was like planning for that. 2.5 months later, I got the call.
Wow. I feel like when you see it in like movies and TV, hospital TV shows, it's like people are waiting so long.
I know a girl that waited 2 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But again, I got super lucky because I'm 5'8", 5'9". I am kind of the perfect height where like I fit into like a male or a female's.
Oh, I didn't even think about that because you have to do like proportionate to your body.
Yeah. Like I think the girl that waited 2 years was like 4'11".
Oh,
so it's like you almost have to wait for like a child's lungs or somebody like very small, right? It has to fit into your rib cage and whatnot. So I just had all of these things like really lining up for me. So yeah, I waited 2.5 months, got the call, and went in.
What was, you said a minimum of like 3 months. What was recovery like in that sense? Like, I mean, like,
oh no, that was just the minimum of 3 months that they want like your parent or caretaker to like quit their job and like dedicate, because you're basically going to the hospital every day to like check your blood levels, check your vitals, check your lung function. So I mean, recovery is, you basically have to learn to walk again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because recovery, I would assume, is way longer than that.
Oh yeah, no, recovery in itself is a year, is minimum a year. I mean, they cut your chest open. I don't know if you've ever seen my scar.
I have, just like when we were at the beach and stuff.
Yeah. So I have a giant, they cut my chest open and whatnot. So I was in the hospital for 14 days, which is actually not that long for recovery for a double lung transplant. Like there's people that are in the hospital for 6 months recovering. I was, I think, standing by day 2, maybe walking by day 4.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
You just have a will of iron, sister.
It's either that, or I always tell people, my parents were they never took it easy on me because I had cystic fibrosis. It wasn't like if I lost a swim race, it wasn't like, oh, good job, Erinn, try again next time. It was like, you're a loser. Get your ass back in the pool and work harder.
They called you a loser.
I mean, in so many words. And so it was kind of like I had a double lung transplant and they're like, all right, get up. Let's get going. Stand up. I remember being in the bed and being like, I don't want to stand up yet. Like I just had my chest ripped open, and then being like, nope, get up. Come on.
There's something to be said about that, though. I mean, I'm sure at the time it's like really harsh, and even hearing that, I'm kind of like, what? Come on, mom.
No, I go back and forth on this all the time.
Yeah, the resilience that probably brought you. I mean, that's
I go back and forth on it all the time, because sometimes I'm like, I would have liked a hug instead of a push. Right. But I think in the end, like I would not be where I am today, like if I had softer parents.
Right.
And
obviously, I mean, had anybody else in your family had this before, or were you guys
No,
first? Okay.
I was the first one I'm the older sibling, so I was the first one born in the family of cystic fibrosis. The only one to have a double lung transplant. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say maybe they were desensitized because other people.
They are the most desensitized people you have ever met. Oh my gosh, it's actually insane. So I was able to leave the hospital after 14 days.
That's really fast.
Really fast. And I was so scared to go home because you're in the hospital, right? And the nurses, I felt protected. I felt like my lungs and I were protected in the hospital. Like they're giving you all the medication, they're doing all this. And I was like, now I have to leave. And it's like up to me.
Yeah.
To like, I'm like, what if I fuck it up?
Yeah.
And I just remember I was like really scared to leave and like have to do it on my own.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that fear, because it's your own mortality setting in. And then if it doesn't go according to plan, you're like, was it me? Did I not do it? Like,
yeah. No, mortality is like a crazy thing.
It really is.
The thing is, like, when you're faced with it, so they like wheeled me into the operation room, right? And it felt like it was like a stadium room. I remember it just had the highest ceilings. They actually have like a viewing deck for students who want to watch you be cut open, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just remember,
sorry. No, you're fine.
They literally,
it's a big comfy couch. It's,
Yeah.
we sacrifice the sound to be comfortable on the couch.
And so I was laying on like a tiny silver cold metal slab. And I just remember looking up at the clock and thinking, like, just this calmness came over me. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it. Like,
that's crazy that I mean, like, I've seen it on like shows and stuff, but the fact that people are just watching you go through like the most traumatic, harrowing thing.
No, yeah, but I just remember lying there thinking, like, this could be the end of me, right? Like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, I could die during this, procedure.
Yeah.
And so, but I just remember thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna die if I do it, or I'm gonna die if I don't. So
go for it.
Let's rock and roll.
I mean, that really is the best outlook to have when you're out of control in those instances.
Yeah.
Like, there's no control to be had. So, like, just fucking go for it.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned this before, but like, how do you balance gratitude for your second chance as well as like the hardships and obstacles that come along the way? I feel like it'd be really hard to not get caught up in the pessimistic or like the woe is me. And I feel like you just do such a beautiful job of this. You have this gracious personality. You're just a ball of energy. You're so full of life. Like, is there ever, like, how do you manage that balance?
Well, thank you for the compliment. It is easier than you would think. I think, well, one, I do think it's like a natural, I don't know. I've only known my life with cystic fibrosis, right? So I don't know if I wasn't born with this, if I would still be like such an optimist, right?
That makes sense.
Actually, I will say my sister is a pessimist and she won't even get mad at me for saying that because she knows she is, and she has cystic fibrosis and she's a total pessimist. It's always like everything is just the end of the world. I've never been like that. I think it is genuinely just a personality thing. But for me, even when I am having a bad day so I was in the hospital in October. I had a little bit of rejection of my lungs, right? But it like was kind of the best case scenario. And I'm just like, well, at least it's the best case scenario, right? Like it could always be worse. And this is actually something I learned in swimming is like somebody's always going to be faster than you and you're going to want to be that person. And somebody's always going to be slower than you and they're going to want to be you.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me as a transplant patient, I know other double lung transplant patients. Like there is a small community of them. I follow them all, on social media. I see what they're going through. Right. And it's like, I kind of have it. I got really lucky in everything that happened to me. Obviously, I do play a role. I take amazing care of myself. I said I was living in Pacific Beach and partying, I have not drank since my transplant. There are people who drink and that's great for them. That's not a risk I'm going to take. And I just think that it could always be worse. And it's like, I could be dead, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm so grateful to even be able to have a bad day.
Yeah.
If that makes
sense. So
sense.
beautiful. It makes total sense. How did this, this transition and this recovery, and then like obviously these lifestyle changes, how did that affect your relationships with your friends or your boyfriend that you had mentioned? Like, was there any big shifts?
Yeah. So, okay. Interesting enough. So with him, we met, I think when I was 23, right? So I had the transplant when I was 25. So like the first 2 years of our relationship, we were together for like 7 years. So like before and after the transplant. The first 2 years of the relationship, it was a lot of him not taking care of me, right? But kind of like, I didn't have a ton of energy. Like I remember going on vacation and it was like a couples trip and everybody went on a hike and like, we stayed behind because that wasn't something that I could do. Right. And so in the moment I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Like I found this guy that like doesn't mind kind of staying behind for me, and I get tired a lot and couldn't do things. And then after the transplant, I now have this renowned energy and I want to do all this stuff that I was unable to do. And he did not like that. It was like, I almost realized that he kind of liked that I couldn't go out and like do a lot. Like he kind of liked that.
Like even though you were sick, you're still so full of life. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but it was like I didn't outgrow him, but I'm trying to find a way to describe this. Like, you know, when you meet a man who just doesn't want you to shine as bright.
Yes.
And it was like I was getting brighter and brighter the healthier I got. And he started to grow resentful of that. You know?
I have some thoughts on that, but I won't say them.
No, and I mean, at the same time, right? Like, he was 25. I have to give him credit. He was 25 dating a girl who had a double lung transplant, right? Like, he was there in the hospital with me, like, after, you know?
Yeah.
And we went through, I mean, there's nobody else that I'm gonna ever have like gone through that with, you know?
Of course.
And like, he was like so supportive. And like, there were times even, but see, again, that was after the transplant when I was still in recovery, that I think he really shined in that like role of being able to take care of me. And I was kind of like this little fragile, you know,
he wanted to take care of you. Yeah. And he wanted to be,
I don't even know if it was that. It was like, he got something out of like me not being able to be as big. And like, as soon as I was like getting stronger and brighter, that is where the problems.
Sounds like he has some insecurity issues.
Oh, definitely.
That we needed to work through.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least he was there when it counted in those moments, but I think it's good for you too. I feel like it would be really hard for, I mean, me personally, like, I don't know if I would have been able to let go of a relationship like that regardless. And I feel like it would also be scary to be like, okay, I'm going back into the single world with my mortality setting in. Like that would be tough.
So it was. And I held on to that relationship a lot longer than I should have because of that, right? Like for a few reasons. One, I felt like I owed him something.
Yeah, which is not good.
No, it's not. But I was like, oh my God, he stayed with me.
I get it.
During all of this, and like nobody's ever gonna understand, right? By the way, that's called trauma bonding, right? And oh my God, like I found somebody who like loved me while I was hooked up to an oxygen machine and dying. Like, how am I ever gonna find that again? And like blah blah blah. Even though I knew that it was like no longer right, like I felt like like I owed him something. I wasn't gonna find anybody else.
It's a limiting belief. Yeah.
And I mean, he definitely fed into that, right? Like he was like, no, you're definitely not going to find anybody else that loves me, you know? And so I definitely stayed in it like a lot longer than I should have. And I had a hard time letting go of it even after we had broken up, you know?
I mean, big lessons to be learned there.
Yes.
Better to love and lost than never to have loved at all.
No, I stand by that.
I love it. How did this transition help or change? Like, I mean, it obviously changes your relationships, but what about like everyday things like that we take for granted? It's like having a job or, you know what I mean? Like working out. Like, I mean, I would assume that you'd have to go on disability for a bit. Like it would be difficult to have your everyday like 9 to 5 or whatever, correct?
Yeah. So I had a job before my transplant, but about 6 months before the transplant, I actually went on temporary disability because I was so sick. Like my lung function probably when I went on disability was in the 30s. So right now, if you were to take a lung function test, yours would probably be anywhere between like 95 and 100%.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, you know, yes. And so mine was 30%. By the time I had my transplant, it was 15%. That means like
hardly functioning.
Barely functioning. Yeah. And so I had gone on temporary disability because I was already like super sick. And then after transplant, I was able to go on like full-time federal disability. And I wouldn't say, sorry, you might have to cut this part out because my brain is.
No, you're good. I mean, this is it, baby. We're raw, we're live.
So I'm like, I don't know. So it's like, it wasn't like I was passionate about that job or anything, but what I did transition that free time into was I got back into swimming.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that helps your lungs. So it was like it was
like, it helps your lungs. I was sitting in the transplant office one day, like waiting for an appointment, saw a little pamphlet for the
That's one of my favorite words, by the way.
pamphlet.
I mean, just like it has all the sounds. Pamphlet. That's just so
You
good.
should name your future child that.
A
You're like, you
pamphlet?
had all the sounds.
Yeah, and so you got back into swimming from that.
So I got back into swimming. No, I was sitting, there was a pamphlet on the Transplant Olympics, and I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I love to win. These transplant people can't be faster than me.
I love the competitive streak.
Yeah.
You're very competitive.
Yes, it's gotten better, but like it was to like an unhealthy level.
No, I love it. You're like, I'm going to fucking survive this. I'm also going to beat your ass and swim.
Yes.
And eat my bubbles.
Gosh. No, so I remember eat my bubbles. People used to wear swim caps with that. That's
Oh,
so
I
funny.
used to have a t-shirt that said that when I was on.
So funny.
Yeah, so embarrassing.
No, I remember. So like for the workup having the transplant, one of the tests was a 6-minute walk. And I think it was just to like monitor how your oxygen went up and down. And I'm like sprinting it, right? And I'm like, I'm going to be the fastest transplant patient they've ever seen. And like at the end, I'm like almost passing out. And they were like, that's not the point of this exercise. And I'm like, did I win?
Please take it easy, ma'am.
They're like, don't die before the transplant. And I'm like, but did I win? Am I the fastest?
Yeah, do I get a medal?
Am I the fastest 6-minute walker you've ever seen? Right? Like to the point where like insane.
Yeah, they're like, please stop.
Yeah. They're like,
so
you know what? It's a 4-minute walk for you.
Yeah.
Just
take a lap.
Yeah, just chill out. You know what? We're gonna skip this test. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna transition my like focus and energy into is like training for the Transplant Olympics. So I probably started. So after my transplant, I had to go to physical therapy for like 6 months, where I told you basically have to like learn to walk again. And it's literally just them teaching you how to walk. So after that, I'm so immunosuppressed as well. So it's like you can't go to the gym, anything. I was a trendsetter of wearing masks. I was wearing a mask out.
COVID who?
Yeah, I'm like, everyone's like, oh my God, we have to wear a mask. And I was like, been doing that for years, honey.
Yeah.
So, you know, can't wear any gyms are filled with germs, couldn't do all that. So I basically started to swim in the backyard of my parents' house, like started to train in their pool, all of that. And eventually I was able to transition into like a competitive lap pool. But yeah, so I spent the next year. So I spent like 6 months learning how to rewalk. And then I think I spent the next, at a year and a half, I went to Spain and competed in the Transplant Olympics.
Wow. Where in Spain?
Malaga?
Mallorca?
No.
Oh.
Malga.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
That's where it was.
Sounds fun.
Yes, it was so fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Or you swim competitively. It's obviously an individual sport, but you had to have met a ton of people.
Yeah.
In that
So
community.
actually, like they run this like the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So it's the International Transplant Games. So there are people from every country there. So like it was on Team USA. They have an opening ceremony where people are running with the torch. Like they treat it, like the Olympics. So it was actually like such a cool experience because I'm on Team USA. We're all staying in one hotel. You are meeting transplant patients from all over the country.
Wow.
All different types of transplants from every state, pretty much. Competing in all different sports. So yeah, it was a really cool experience.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you had that outlet.
Yeah.
Burn out that physical energy and then build that community.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, but it helped me rebuild my lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circling back, I know you had mentioned you went on a partial disability. I would assume you would have to be on like full-blown disability with the double transplant moving forward, right? Like you.
Yeah. So I was on like the temporary like California state disability before my transplant because I was like taking a leave. This was when I didn't know that I was going to have a transplant.
Yeah.
I was just so sick I could not make it through the workday.
Right.
And I actually worked with like a group of really unintelligent human beings who I had to have my doctor go to the office to describe to them.
Are you fucking kidding
what
me?
Cystic fibrosis was because they thought that I was faking it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I wish I was. Every time I drive by their office, I still flip them off this day. 9 years later, I'm like, what's up, fuckers?
Dude, the ignorance of some people.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, think of like if you have a double lung transplant, it's fear of rejection, infection, like you're immunocompromised so much. So like,
well, I mean, this was before, like when I didn't have the transplant.
But even so, you're just that sick.
I was literally like passing out at work and like coughing up a lung and all of this. And it was like, oh, she's just faking it, you know?
That's such bullshit.
Yeah. I actually remember like being in the hospital and like, you know, obviously my family had like posted, you know, on social media that I was having a double lung transplant and whatnot. And I remember like being like, oh, for sure they're going to reach out to me and apologize.
And they never did.
No. Isn't that weird that I like, thought about that when I was in the hospital?
No.
I was like, for sure I'm going to get an apology from these people.
That's just harrowing to me. I mean, like when my mom was sick, the company I was working for was like, be a hybrid, be remote.
Yeah.
What can we do? What can we donate? Like, it just goes to show
That's
you there's some real dog shit people out there. Okay, so you were on that like part or the temporary disability.
Yeah.
And then when you are, you know, working on getting better and all of that jazz, I feel like I would love to just get your perspective on like the healthcare and the government and what they do right and what they kind of do wrong to help people who are in your position or other people who are dealing with these lifelong illnesses.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as the government, I mean, what do they do right?
That's well, this administration.
We're sitting here in 2025, you know.
No. But you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's got to be some facets that like helped, right? Help push.
I mean, yeah, the help was me being able to go on federal disability.
Yeah.
But I had to get a lawyer to help me get on disability, right? And all of this, what is actually helping people is there are so many funds and organizations for people with CF. So they actually like will pay for you to get a lawyer. Like there's a CF foundation that'll pay for you to get a lawyer to get you on disability.
Great.
And then as far as insurance goes, there's little like CF community pockets that help with different insurance stuff. So it's really like outsourcing it.
Oh, okay. I mean, the ALS Association.
And also I had the transplant when I was 25, so I was still on my dad's insurance.
Thank goodness.
Thank God, right? These are $2 million lungs you're looking at, you know?
Girl.
Yeah, I'm expensive.
You are
I got expensive.
You are a jewel.
Yeah. So I mean, really the only thing that was helped by the government was my ability to go on federal disability, but I did have to get a lawyer through the CF Foundation to help me prove that I was disabled.
So there's a lot of improvements that could be made.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that there's any notion of that happening in the near future? Probably not with this shit show.
Not in the next 4 years.
Yeah, but do you feel like when they're, I mean, even not to get political, like I obviously voted Biden. I'm more.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. But like, I also find him to be useless. He was not great.
Yeah, no. Okay, so here's the thing I will say that the government did do, which was during the Obama administration, Obamacare was a huge game changer for people who need insurance and can't get on it and have physical ailments, right?
So there's hope, right? That maybe people who are born with these pre-existing conditions, that they're not going to be in a legal battle their whole fucking life just to be able to survive.
Yeah. It's like I already have, you know, medical burnout. Like I had a doctor the other day be like, did you make your eye appointment yet? And I was like, no.
I don't give a fuck
I did
about
not.
my eyes.
Exactly.
Right
I'm like, I can see just fine. I'm like, it's the only thing that works on my body, right? Like, it's the only thing. And she's like, and I had to explain to her, I'm like, right now I have medical burnout. Yeah. I still go to the hospital a minimum of 2 days a week.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm going tomorrow morning, first thing.
I don't blame you. It's like, on top of that, I don't want to see a doctor get probed and prodded again and then adding illegal shit on top of it. Like,
and it's like I'm already so burned out from all of that. And it's not just going to the doctor, it's dealing with insurance, right? It is getting poked and prodded. The last time I had to have blood drawn a couple weeks ago, they had to poke me 4 times before they could find anything, right? And so it's like I just don't have the energy on top of it to spend hours on the phone with insurance, like fighting for my case. Because, and this is something that I do like to talk about, is again with the company that I was working for that didn't believe me because I was sick, is cystic fibrosis is what they call an invisible illness, right? Like I'm not missing an arm, I'm not missing a leg, I don't, you know.
Yeah, you look like a beautiful average girl.
Yes, thank you. And so it's like, well, you don't look sick.
Yeah, you're like, trust me, I fucking am.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't look sick, you know? And so there's a lot of like discrediting that goes into that, right? So
Yeah.
Like fighting for people to believe you every step of the way is exhausting.
I can't even imagine like having to validate your experience and something that you've been dealing with for decades, like it's just, that's sickening to me. Actually, I remember the first time I got wind of who you were is right when I first moved here, and Jenny had shared your photos on Instagram, and you were like posting something for like women with scars or something. It was a really hot swimsuit shoot, and I was like, it kind of got me thinking like, yeah, there's some physical scars and emotional scars behind there too. So like, fuck them for discrediting that.
Yeah.
But that just totally came to my mind thinking of that photo shoot.
Yeah, I was on a path there for a bit. I was auditioning for Sports Illustrated swimsuit.
Hot.
Yes, and I made it like, I didn't make it far. I did make it to their Instagram as like somebody who was like recognized. Like, we recognize that you're auditioning and stuff. But I didn't make it any further. And I am still kind of like disappointed in their brand because they have yet to feature anybody with a chronic illness or with scars.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the angle that I was like trying to present, because growing up, so as I said, like the reason that I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis is because I didn't pass my first stool. So I had surgery on like day 2 of my life. And so they had to go in there and like untangle my intestines. So from the day I was born, have a scar across my stomach. So I've had a scar. Now I'm a collector of scars. But
you show them at any
anybody want to see them? But growing up, I didn't see anybody on the cover of magazines or anybody who was portrayed as beautiful or a sex symbol as somebody with scars. And so I literally remember walking up to the makeup counter at Nordstrom's and being like, do you guys have any makeup that I could put over my scar? Because I like wanted to wear a bikini, And so I really like wanted to go that angle and be like, it would have been a game changer for me growing up. Now I love my scars. Like I love
You're a survivor.
Yes. Yeah. I love wearing like a deep V-neck with like the scar right down the middle. Like I do think it's hot. I think it's fun. But that was something that I had to grow into. Right. And yeah, I didn't have, there's no role models for girls out there like that. And so try to take that angle. It didn't go all the way. I still think that they should look into that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you, like, you never know what people are battling, those physical scars or emotional scars, the scars you can't see. Yeah. Like, it's just, have some grace and compassion, people.
Yeah.
We're all just on this rock floating through space trying to figure it out.
I know we are on
just
the rock.
Be nice.
Yes.
And be helpful.
Yes.
Listen to people.
Help me.
It's not that fucking hard.
Yeah.
Besides swimming, I guess, is there like any other unexpected like outlets for healing or release that you have found that to be really helpful? Like for me, when I was going through my healing journey, like practicing yoga all the time, going on my hot girl walks in nature, and like finding breath work was like such a way for me to tap into what was kind of feeling sticky and residual in my body and, in my trauma. And it helped me release and like get to know myself a little bit better. Has there been any like spiritual or other, physical forms of release that have helped you in that instance?
Swimming is such, I'm not going to say it like covers every base because it doesn't, but I mean, you're underwater with your own thoughts, right? Yeah. You're holding your breath and then you're breathing. Like it kind of like covers so many bases of what you're looking for.
I guess it is breath work in itself.
Yeah. It really is. Yeah. That like outside of swimming, for me, the thing that heals me is like genuinely being social.
Yeah. You are a social little butterfly.
I love it, and like for me, because I spent so much time by myself after my transplant, which I don't think people realize, right? Is like, so I had to move home to my parents' house.
You have to isolate, basically.
I was isolated. And then after the 3-month mark, my mom did go back to work. And so I was home by myself from morning until when both my parents got home from work, which was like 4 p.m. So like from whenever I woke up until 4 p.m., which really doesn't seem like that long. But by the way, when you are not working, I was by myself. Like it was very isolating. That when I moved back to San Diego, it was almost like a culture shock to me to like have to get back to like being social. And like I literally remember one of the first nights I was back in San Diego, I was spending the night at my boyfriend's house and like leaving in the middle of the night to like go home because I like didn't know.
Wow.
I just felt so overwhelmed that I was like, I need to go back to like being by myself. Like, I don't even know how to like be in the presence of other people.
That's had to be a really crazy emotion and experience.
Yeah. So
What eventually got you over that hump?
I think that I tried to like jump back into my life that I had in San Diego beforehand, like full force, and kind of act like, okay, I'm back. Like, that
ease into it.
Yeah, easing into it and realizing that things were going to be different and I was different, and taking it day by day.
Would you say that was probably the biggest surprise or misconception from your whole like experience from being sick to getting the transplant to getting better was how isolating it was? Or was there another like kind of standout thing to you that caught you off guard or maybe even other people off guard?
No, I think like it was the isolation of it.
Yeah.
And you asked me again, like how it affected relationships and stuff. Like I remember I had a really good friend from high school. Like she was one of my best friends. And I said to one of my other friends, because I was able to like see my friends from high school and stuff, they'd stop by my
Mhm.
parents' house and see me. And I remember being like, she hasn't called me. She hasn't come by. And she was like, yeah, she said she doesn't want to see you. She said it's too hard for her to see you like this, and I guess like seeing me sick and all of that was too hard for her. And so, yeah, like there were things that were so isolating.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like on top of like you mentioned, you're dealing with getting better. You're dealing with this new normalcy, like having that isolation or even people pulling away from you because of it. I can't even imagine the extra layer of trauma or stress that would
Yeah.
put on you.
And like I understood it. I really did. Because I'm sure I've done that to people, right? Like I'm
This is
sure
too much. I need to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that I've pulled away in instance. In fact, I know that I have in instances with a friend or two who actually had a double lung transplant.
Mhm.
And when things started to go south for them, I did feel myself pulling away and then I had to jump back into it. But I realized that it was because like I didn't want to face that this could be me one day, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Of course.
yeah. And so I understood where she was coming from, but it was just like another form of isolation.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I empathize with that. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be friends for you, for being friends with somebody in the community that you've built within the transplant community. That would be really difficult. Like on top of losing somebody you love, being like, oh shit, could this ever be me? Like I
Yeah.
can't even imagine having to grapple those emotions. And good for you for even going back in and recognizing that, because I feel like that would be the last thing on my mind selfishly.
No, yeah. I mean, so I've had two friends that had double lung transplants who I both at Stanford. So I met where I had mine. So I met them through that process. Both of them have since passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have like made the decision that like I'm not going to make any more friends. Like in that situation is so like as I said, there is like a community of people who have had double lung transplants. Most of them have cystic fibrosis, right? Because they're younger people. And I heard that there's a rumor going around that people think that I don't want to be their friends, and like that is true, right? Like I don't want to be their friends. But like they think that it's coming from like a mean place.
No.
And
You got to protect yourself.
It's not. It is. It's coming from a protection.
It's a self-preservation.
It is a self-preservation. I'm like, listen, I was really close with two girls who ended up passing away, and that broke me.
Yeah.
Right. And I just cannot do that again.
You've already been through so much.
Don't think that I'm not watching you guys, that I'm not cheering you on, that I don't wish the best for you. But like for me, that is just not the healthiest thing. I do not need to be in that.
I think at that stage too, maybe at the beginning, it was really helpful to form those relationships because it was new and it was scary.
Yeah.
And then once you evolve past it, it's not outgrowing. It's like you said, it's self-preservation. It's making sure that, okay, like I need to focus on my health and well-being because who knows how much time I have on this planet.
Yeah.
I can't waste it. Like not waste it. That's the wrong word, but I can't be worrying myself sick or being depressed in these moments.
And it's just like, you don't want to get attached. And then it's like, it's kind of like not blinding yourself to the reality, right? But it's like, I don't know how to describe it. it's really hard for me to describe it. Again, somebody who like hasn't been through it, right? But it's like, okay, so for instance, before my transplant, they were like, we will set you up with somebody who has had a transplant and they will answer any questions that you have.
It's almost like a support group, like AA
talk to
or
them.
something.
Yeah, but it was like a one-on-one thing. Like they would pair you with somebody, and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need that. And they were like, really? Like, you might be the first person to ever turn it down. And I was like, no, I'm good.
You want me to take a lap again? I'm also the fastest ever.
I am the fastest and I'm the meanest, okay?
You're not.
Where are my awards? No, but I'm like, no, I don't want that. And I wanted to go in blinded.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just jump in head first with my own experience.
I understand that.
Yeah, I did not want anybody else's experience, because what if I got paired with somebody who had a really bad experience
and scared the shit out of you?
Scared the shit out of me. Yeah. Or
pessimist. Or
what if I got paired with somebody who had the best experience ever, and then I go in there with that expectation, and then I don't have the best experience, right? And so for me, I was just like, no, I think that I need to put blinders on, put my head in the sand, and take the best care of myself that I can, and take it day by day within myself.
I think that's really smart. I mean, I have grown up with a lot of loss in my family as well. And like my family, I feel like that's always say to each other now, like, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Yes.
Sometimes even though it seems pessimistic, like you have to do that to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to spiral in the nitty gritty and the bullshit when it happens.
Yeah. And my transplant team now even asks me, like, would you be one of the people on the other side that we pair you with somebody? And I was like, no.
I feel like you'd be really good at it though, sis.
But also I've had such a positive experience. So with a double lung transplant, after 5 years, only 50% of people are still alive. I'm at year 9.
Woohoo!
Yes.
You are the best.
Amazing.
Like, get the 3-year-old award.
Where is my medal? But I don't want to give somebody an unrealistic
expectation
of being like, okay, this was really positive for me, and I only had to wait 2.5 months, and and then they don't have a positive experience. I would hate to do that to somebody.
That's fair.
And I'm just like, I need to stay on my own path, because I think that that's what's going to get me the farthest.
Well, you already mentioned you're on another podcast before. I mean, if anybody needs your inspiration, be like, just go listen to my episode. You can hear my story.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to mentor you. Okay. I guess I was going to ask this, but I feel like maybe not, since you don't want to be a mentor. I was going to ask, what advice would you give somebody? I guess even if it's not,
advice.
Even if it's not CF, even if it's just like an illness they're gonna have to live with forever, or God forbid if it's terminal, like what advice would you give to somebody going through this like life-changing medical experience?
Okay, I will answer that. But in terms of like being a mentor, what is funny to me is like I always have gotten, you're such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration. And I'm like, thanks. My options were that or die. Like, what do you think? It's like, what would you have done?
You are an inspiration, but I do love that. That is
no, you know what I'm saying? People are like, oh my God, you're so strong. Like, you went through that. Like, I don't know how you did it. I'm like, well, the option was that or die.
I do love that. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what But Seriously is. I'm like, we're either laughing or we're crying. And I'd much rather fucking laugh than cry.
Yeah. And it's like,
but not a lot of people could go through what you've been through. Like the medical, I mean, I've had family members in and out of like being sick for super long. And like, that is taxing, and it's an emotionally draining. It's physically draining.
Yeah. So I don't want to like take that for granted that I have had taxing situations where there are times that I am mentally and
you want to put your head through a fucking wall.
Yes. And I want to put my head through a wall, and I want to scream, and I've done all of those things. Right. But I also am like, okay, I have to, which I guess like goes into my advice, right? Like, you can have bad days. I have them all the time. I really do. But it's like, you can have bad days, but you have to be able to pull yourself out of it and like figure out what you need to do to get to the good day, right? Like, okay, I'm having, as I said, like I went through some rejection this past year, and it was tough. I was in the hospital for 5 days, and it was kind of a wake-up call for me, because one thing that I have always like struggled with is like, I always think that I'm bulletproof, right? And it's like, oh, not that that won't ever happen to me, but I'm just like, I'm bulletproof, like,
Mm-hmm.
da-da-da. And it was kind of a wake up call for me, like, okay, you had a double lung transplant and rejection is inevitable. It
Mm-hmm.
is, unfortunately. Some of it's reversible. The type that I had was reversible, so I was able to reverse it. But it was like, okay, Erinn, this is a wake up call. You need to get your butt in gear and you need to do whatever you need to do to reverse it and get back on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like I was in the hospital. I was devastated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, how could this happen? Like, I try my best, you know, and like that was another thing too, is like with the competitive nature, is like the downside of that is like my parents never allowed me to like not not be the best, but like, yeah, not be the best, I guess. And like in
Mm-hmm.
their head too, it was a lot of pressure. And so it's like, okay, I have to get I have to work my ass off to get back on track, right? So it's like you're allowed to have bad days. Like I couldn't control that I went into rejection. That's just my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can control the steps after that. I can control how hard I work. I can control that I'm going to take my medication on time every day and never miss a dose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to control that I'm going to work out to build my lung function higher. You know, I can control that I'm going to put myself in healthy situations.
I mean, controlling the controllables is something that is so not learned until you, I feel like, go through a harrowing experience like that. It's so true. Like the only thing that's certain about life is it's fucking uncertain, right?
Yeah.
And like if you can focus on controlling those things that you can control and shifting your perspective to something positive, I think that's like where the magic happens. And it feels like you're the queen of having better outlooks and shifting your perspective. Seriously.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard, right? And there's days that I have broken down.
Of
and
course.
like, this is not fair, you know?
And it's not.
But I can't control that it's not fair.
Yeah.
This is the hand that I was dealt, and now I got to figure out how to play the cards that I have, you know?
I know, that's so beautifully put.
Thank you.
Okay, my dear, you're amazing. And now we're going to come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast.
Okay.
Called airing the dirty laundry.
Okay.
So it's just an opportunity for me to ask you some like silly fun questions, get to know you a little bit better. So let's start.
Okay.
Let's
nervous for this is the most nervous.
No, don't worry. Yeah. Oh, please. What is a guilty pleasure you could absolutely never give up, no matter what?
Reality TV.
Oh my God, you're a big reality TV gal?
Yes.
I've actually never really gotten into it. What's your favorite reality TV show?
All of them. But
are you a Housewives gal?
The Housewives, anything on Bravo. Housewives, Summer House, Vanderpump Rules.
Oh, I watch I'm a liar. I do watch reality TV. I love the one where they're on yachts. They're sailing.
Oh, Below Deck.
Love Below Deck.
That one's like my least favorite.
Oh, of course. So it's like I just like it because I love watching like
I'm like, I don't want to watch these people work.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, oh my God, look at them running on the boat, complaining about making cocktails in the Adriatic Sea. Like,
yeah, no, I'm like, I want to watch these housewives go to lunch and argue with each other.
Oh, you have to give that one shot.
Yeah.
I've seen like a couple Housewives episodes. I've seen like the memes and stuff, but yeah, no, I love Below Deck.
Oh my God. No, I
think it's because I like bartended and served and stuff. So I just love the drama. I probably like the restaurant one. What's the restaurant?
Vanderpump Rules.
I probably like that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll give it a go.
Beginning.
Okay. If you had to give a TED talk on something that was not about your health, what would it be? Like something that you're super passionate about.
Oh my God.
Sorry, that's a hard one.
My dog? I don't know.
Your dog? That's cute.
I'm like, what? That's not my health. You know, it's that I'm super passionate about. I would give a TED talk on the importance of women being independent.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. We are the first generation of women who, at least in my family, who like don't have, I'm the first generation from like my mom, my grandma, my aunts, all that to like live on her own. Right? Like
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in an apartment, no roommates, no husband, anything. So I would say like the importance of like women being independent.
Fuck yeah. I love that answer. What is an unpopular opinion that you stand by, or like something you secretly, like everybody else is like all about, but you're secretly like not about?
Okay, the new season of White Lotus sucks.
I mean, it's not. There's definitely been better ones, but I don't think it sucks.
Okay, well, that's my unpopular opinion.
Oh my God. Okay, fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
I just am like, I think everybody's going to be so disappointed by the finale.
Yeah.
I think that the first 2 seasons were amazing, and this one is bringing nothing to the table.
I know.
For me.
I just like the siblings, the Patrick Schwarzenegger and them. I cannot stand. Like, even when he was on screen, everything they do, I cringe at that family.
Yeah,
the family's so cringe.
Oh my God, I do love. She's like Piper. No, I do like her.
Oh yeah, she's
giving housewife.
She's very funny. It's like live, laugh, lorazepam.
Yes, yeah. So I would say that's mine.
No, she's funny, and I like the girl with the teeth. She's so cute, Chelsea.
I can't stand her.
Teach their own. Okay, if you had a playlist that was like encompassing your life, what would be the name of it?
Ooh.
Brigitte's what's I was like, what?
How are you gonna type that out? Are you gonna spell it on Spotify?
R. Tongue emoji.
What would mine would be of my life? See, I've had some ups, I've had some downs, had some fun. Some health issues. Ooh, I'd call it the Health Witch.
The Health Witch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What would be your most played song?
Oh.
Like your favorite tune?
Okay, my favorite song ever is I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston.
I love that song.
Yeah.
I love
That's my favorite song. So probably that one.
Okay. It's a lame question, but I think it says so much about a person. Desert island, movie, and book. If you're stranded on a desert island, what would you bring with you?
Okay. What movie and book or like other things? Okay. What movie I would bring would be Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood.
Cute.
It's my favorite movie.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Okay, usually people have not ever seen it.
No, it's the one with Susan Sarandon, right?
No.
Am I thinking of a different one? Okay.
No, it has Sandra Bullock in it.
Sandra Bullock, that's the one I meant. Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's my favorite movie. It's also my favorite book. But can I bring a coloring book so I have something to do?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Coloring book. I love it. We obviously know the TV show you'd bring is like Real Housewives or something.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. I'd bring all the reality TV.
I love it so much. Okay. You don't have to do this, but if you want, I always have guests ask the 8-ball magic question. It's like a yes or no question.
Okay.
It can be silly. It can be serious, whatever you want. The 8-ball, no, you're a pretty big witchy girl, so I feel like it's going to
Okay, so the last time I did one of these, I asked it, will I find the love of my life? And it literally malfunctioned.
Okay, so how did I get it not to malfunction? Is shake it so it's flat. And
I was like, well, that's my answer.
Malfunctioning love. So just flip it over so it's flat. And then
okay.
Malfunction.
And I was like, well, I guess that seems right. Yeah. Honestly, I was like, that seems like it's telling me something.
Okay, it's on brand.
Yeah, I was like, this seems right. Okay. What do I want to? I don't want to ask it that because what if it malfunctions again?
It won't.
Okay, will I have longevity in my life?
Hell yes, sister.
Okay, so I flip it straight.
Yeah.
You don't want to know the answer. My reply is no.
Oh,
this whole podcast on like can we stay healthy and it's like no longevity for you, sister.
No, that's not true. I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it.
Okay. Should I ask you something else?
No, I'm scared.
Magic 8-balls hate me. Okay.
I'm scared.
Am I a witch?
Yes. There we go.
Oh, wait. Am I a witch? Most likely.
Yeah. There we go. You're a witch and you're gonna have longevity. Fuck that magic 8-ball.
That's hilarious.
Okay, honey. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
this has
you.
been so fun. You are amazing, and I'm just so excited we got to have this conversation.
Yes, and now nobody knows this. We're going to Mexico together.
Oh, you're coming to Mexico?
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
I know. I got to buy my flight. I'm just so excited. This is going to be the best girls trip
I know.
ever. Well, do you have anything going on that you want to tell the people where they can follow you? Anything?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram is just me being hot, but my TikTok is it's actually dedicated to my health journey. So
cool.
There's a lot of information on there, educational stuff. They are both Erinn H, but the I is in one.
Okay. Well, I'll type it into the
Okay, cool.
I'll type it into the old, I don't know, not the suggestion box. What
I
is
know
it
what
called?
you're talking about.
Yeah, the episode
description.
thing. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. The
yeah.
bio. There
Yeah,
you go.
so follow me on there.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Yeah, you crushed. All right, you silly goosies. Thank you so much for tuning in to But Seriously. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at butseriously.pod and check out our website for upcoming events and exclusive merch. You can find all the links in our YouTube video description or on our Instagram page. See you next time.